Hello, and welcome to the Psych and Business Podcast, where we highlight the integration of psychology and psychological principles into the world of business and organizations. I'm your host, Dr. Ernest Wayde. Okay, so today I'm going to talk about the last leadership skill that I think a leader needs to have when focusing on their team. Now, again, there are many leadership skills, behaviors, and characteristics that leaders should have that really will help them improve their leadership. But as I've been talking about, these are just sort of the foundational, fundamental ones that I think are really important. And this one is a little different, so I might get some disagreement here, which is completely fine. I welcome diverse thoughts and opinions on this one. And, if you have a better one that you think I missed, please let me know. I'm still going to say that employee development should be a fundamental leadership skill that leaders need to develop and have when they're focusing on their teams. When you are, as a leader, focusing on your team, focusing on those individuals and helping them develop, that employee development is a leadership skill that I think is not well focused on, is not well encouraged, and really is not well done. So, why? Right? I want to start with why. Why should you, as a leader, focus on employee development? Well, I think it's pretty obvious that when we're talking about specifically focusing on your team as a leader, not on yourself or your organization, which are all important things, but focusing on your team, you really need to know how you can help them to be better at their work, be more efficient, and enhance their contribution to the overall organization. Now, when I say this, you might immediately think, oh, we're talking about leadership development. We're talking about developing our employees for leadership development. And I would respond with yes, and because not everyone wants to be a leader. Not everyone can be a leader, in that you can't have only leaders and no followers. That would be chaotic. And really, not everyone should be a leader. It's also not just coaching, which could absolutely be one of the ways that you help your employees develop. But as a leader of an employee, you don't necessarily have to be the one to coach them, to help them develop. And you also have other tools and resources available to you that you can leverage and offer to employees to help them develop their professional abilities. I know there are some people that will say employee development is the domain of HR and the responsibility of the individual employees. And to that, I will say again, yes, and add that as a leader of an employee, you have a lot of power and control over if and how that employee actually engages in their own development. And their likelihood of success also depends on the kind of leader that you are and how much you contribute to helping that employee engage in employee development. So your next question might be, well, as a leader, why should I engage in this activity? Why should you focus on helping your employees develop their professional skills and abilities anyway? Well, research, and you all know I love research, research shows that employee development impacts employee performance. And as you would expect, organizational performance. So by helping your employees develop, it will actually improve their performance, which as a result will improve the performance of the organization overall. So, while there's a lot that goes into employee development, leaders play a significant role in shaping the employee's experience. Employee development can actually include a lot of different things. So, what specifically should leaders be focused on? Well, the first thing that I think is modeling appropriate behavior and expectations. As a leader, you need to set the tone. You need to help craft and set the culture that you want. Be the example that you would like to see. Set the right culture, that learning culture where continuous learning is actually encouraged and rewarded. Communication. We've talked so much about communication, but it's really important when we're talking about employee development. You need to have regular opportunities where you're having two-way communication with your employees, giving and providing regular feedback. making sure you're clarifying not just what is required of the employee, but speaking them to understand what their goals are and working with them to figure out what the gap is between where they would like to get, where you need them to get, and where they are now. And then coming up with a plan, continually and consistently adjusting and tweaking that plan through constant and continuous communication. Now, coaching is one of the things that I mentioned, and I think coaching is extremely important. You have to give direction and support. You have to encourage and help your employees understand the why behind what they're doing so that they can learn how to adapt to constantly changing environments. Now, as a leader, if you have a lot of employees, you may not be the one that coaches all of them, but making sure that all employees have a coach that can help them in a more one on one basis is a critical way, I think, of helping employees develop. Delegating and challenging your employees. And by this, I mean assigning tasks along with the commensurate responsibility to complete those tasks, but maintaining that overall responsibility yourself as the leader. This will help your employees gain some very valuable experience and build up their confidence. Empowerment is absolutely important. Empowering your employees to make decisions and take ownership of their work, giving them that responsibility where they take complete ownership of their work. This will enhance their sense of belonging and engagement when they have to take on that full responsibility when they're ready. It's really important that we don't empower employees to take on responsibilities that they're not ready for. And so this is why all of these things come into play before this, to make sure that the employee is actually ready to take on that responsibility. And then the final thing I want to bring up here is time, the allocation of the resource of time. A leader once said to me that the most important resource an organization has is its people. And in turn, the most important resource our people have is time. So show your employees how important employee development is by giving them the time to engage in it, to develop themselves for their benefit and for the benefit of the organization overall. Again, employee development is not a skill that is not often brought up as one of the most important leadership skills because we most often think about it as the domain of HR and the responsibility of the employees, which are both true. But as leaders, we can play such an important role to help our employees engage in employee development in a way that can help them be successful. And when our employees improve and grow, the organization grows and succeeds, and we all win. As always, I hope this has been helpful, and I hope you join us again.